I posted anonymously on a relationship forum at 2 in the morning. We have a child together, but I barely know his father. We live like strangers under the same roof. He's never once touched me since the night our son was conceived. The post erupted within hours. Wait, so how did you even get pregnant? Just once, she said, just once. Once a night or once in your entire relationship? From conception to birth and beyond, just that one time. That's not a marriage, that's a tragedy. Divorce him immediately. Curious strangers, sympathetic strangers, strangers demanding I pack my bags and leave. And then buried beneath hundreds of chaotic replies, one quiet question surfaced. Do you love your husband? I stared at those 4 words until my phone screen dimmed and went black. His name is Aldric Voss. In the elite circles of the capital, they call him the Untouchable. Women don't interest him. Romance doesn't appeal to him. He never planned to marry anyone ever. The only reason he married me was a single catastrophic accident at my best friend's wedding that left me pregnant with his child. I have always had terrible alcohol tolerance. At the reception, I drank maybe 3 glasses of champagne before the room began spinning like a carousel. My best friend guided me to a hotel suite upstairs and promised someone would bring me hangover soup. The person who pushed open that door was Aldric. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, long legs encased in an immaculate dark suit without a single wrinkle. His face was unfairly arresting. Sharp brows, pale skin, and eyes so deep and dark they looked like bottomless winter water. When I saw him standing in the doorway, my brain simply stopped functioning. Do you want to do this? I still don't know why those words came out of my mouth. I had been studying abroad since college, with only half a year remaining on my master's degree. I had met countless handsome men overseas. None of them had ever made my heart race like this. None of them had ever made me forget myself. I have no memory of what happened after that. I only know what happened. The next morning, I woke up completely bare beneath the hotel sheets. My face drained of color. Then I turned my head and saw the man lying beside me. My face went from white to corpse gray. Anyone could guess what had transpired. Aldric stirred and opened his eyes slowly. He looked at me without a single flicker of emotion. He gathered my scattered clothes from the floor and handed them to me in silence. Then he dressed himself with meticulous, unhurried calm. I'll take responsibility. I shook my head at him. No need for both adults, it was an accident. His deep eyes rested on my face for a long moment. Then he nodded once and walked out. 2 months later, I discovered I was pregnant.
I was completely stunned. I had assumed he had used protection that night. I hadn't taken any morning after precautions. And now there was a life growing inside me. My family's manufacturing business had been hemorrhaging money for over a year. My father couldn't secure a single investment. The company was dangling by a thread. When my parents learned what had happened between Aldric and me and that I was carrying his child, they practically begged me to marry into the Voss family. A strategic alliance, they called it. Aldric would stabilize our finances. So after telling him I didn't need him to take responsibility, I turned around and shamelessly appeared at his corporate headquarters. I sat in the reception room of his office, my heart pounding with anxiety. I'm pregnant. His brow lifted a fraction of an inch, but he said nothing. You have to take responsibility. Terrified he would think I had been playing some manipulative game earlier, I pulled the test report from my bag and placed it on the polished table between us. He picked it up. His gaze moved across the paper. Still, he said absolutely nothing. My heart sank inch by inch. I'm sorry. I bowed slightly and stood to leave. Let's get
married. His voice was cold but steady as stone. We registered our marriage that same afternoon. Afterward, I stayed abroad, finishing my degree, while Aldric flew out to see me whenever his schedule permitted. Mostly he asked about the baby growing in my belly. We treated each other with a formality so extreme it bordered on farce. From pregnancy to childbirth to the months that followed, we never touched each other again. We were not husband and wife. We were co-custodians of a child. I couldn't call what I felt love, but if I said I felt nothing for Aldric, that would be a lie. The forum comments grew more vicious by the day. Sis, I am begging you, do not be that kind of woman. If he won't sleep with you, he has someone on the side. Women have needs. Take that baby and disappear. Your husband doesn't love you. Your husband doesn't love you. What's that saying? You can never wake someone who's pretending to be asleep. I closed the browser tab and sat in silence. But here is what strangers on the internet did not understand. Aldric had poured millions into rescuing my family's failing company. He never asked for anything in return. He never held it over my head. And this man whom everyone believed was incapable of warmth spent every single night in the nursery. I awoke one evening to the sound of our son crying through the baby monitor. When I pulled on my slippers and hurried down the hall, I found Aldric already there, cradling Elias against his chest, with a patience I had never witnessed in him before. Did I wake you? I smoothed my disheveled hair. He's probably hungry. Go back to sleep. I'll manage.
I didn't argue. I left them together but glanced back from the doorway several times. That night, I was wrong. Elias wasn't hungry. Elias had produced the kind of diaper that deserved its own hazard classification. Later, I went downstairs for water and noticed the bathroom light still on. Aldric had rolled his white sleeves to his elbows and was bent over the sink, dry heaving for what looked like a very long time. The Untouchable of the capital gagging helplessly over an infant's dirty nappy. I had to physically cover my mouth to keep from laughing. We had 2 professional nannies specifically assigned to Elias. He could have woken them at any moment and delegated the entire operation. He chose not to. That was when I decided I needed to have an actual conversation with my husband. I changed into a pale pink silk nightgown and waited. Aldric messaged that he wouldn't be home. The next night, the same. The night after that, the same. For 9 consecutive days, Aldric returned impossibly late. He had worked late before, but he always informed me in advance. Now he barely sent messages at all. I opened my old forum post. Netizens Daily Check. Divorced yet? I decided to try seeking clarity online one more time. My husband has been coming home suspiciously late for over 2 weeks now. Sis, I'm telling you, he definitely has another woman. You can never wake someone pretending to sleep. Your husband doesn't love you. I closed the forum. But something didn't fit. The Aldric everyone called the Untouchable, the man with zero romantic history who had built his entire reputation on cold detachment. That man cheating was simply not compatible with everything I knew about him. Our son Elias was 4 months old when Aldric's grandfather turned 78. We drove to the family estate together. I held Elias in the back while Aldric took a business call. When he hung up, Elias was gazing at him with those round, bright infant eyes. Aldric's usually cold expression softened almost imperceptibly. He reached over and gently squeezed Elias's tiny cheek. Why don't you take him? Aldric accepted the baby with practiced, careful movements. We played together, making faces and sounds until Elias drooled. Before I could grab a tissue, Aldric had already wiped the baby's mouth with his own finger. Then, completely naturally, he extended that elegant finger toward me. I smiled and wiped it clean with a tissue. When we arrived, my dress was slightly rumpled from the car ride. My clothes are all wrinkled. Aldric came up beside me, his hand hovering just behind my back. Come inside. My mother-in-law practically ran to take Elias the moment she saw us. I thought you two would be much later. I gave a polite smile. It's grandfather's birthday. We set work aside no matter how busy. She walked beside me, bouncing Elias gently. Aldric used to arrive terribly late to these gatherings. Later, while I chatted with relatives, Aldric appeared at my side, carrying a gift bag with modern embroidery. Lucy, he used my family nickname and beckoned me over. Your dress is wrinkled. Go change. He had remembered my offhand complaint from that morning. Where should I change? He guided me upstairs with that same light, barely there touch at my waist. I wanted to grab his hand and press it firmly against me. We are married, I thought, not two acquaintances on a first date. The bedroom he brought me to had a framed photo of him from high school on the cabinet. My heart did something strange and uneven. As he turned to leave, I stopped him. Help me with the zipper. I turned my back to him fully. I could have done it myself without difficulty. I wanted to see how he would respond. Aldric paused. Then he stepped forward and drew the zipper down in one slow motion. He didn't leave immediately. Is there anything else? I gestured at the dress spread on the bed. I'll need assistance with this one as well. I slipped out of the wrinkled fabric and stood completely bare before him. He didn't look at me. Not a single glance, not even a flicker.
Distracted and slightly stung, I pulled on the lavender silk gown he had selected. I hadn't planned to ask for help again. He came anyway and zipped me up without comment. We stayed overnight at the estate. That night the forum was still raging, with strangers calling me delusional. Exhausted from the day and the endless comments, I impulsively typed a reply. Stop scolding me, I'm already preparing to divorce. The comment section detonated. Sis, you're finally awake? Look at me, 8-pack abs, great proportions, ideal height. My husband is 188 centimeters. You married a walking building, no wonder you're confused. But sis, he still won't touch you, what does height matter? I was about to respond when the threads suddenly locked. I couldn't post or reply anymore. Aldric emerged from the bathroom wearing only a towel. I forgot how to form words. Water droplets traced slow paths down the defined planes of his chest and stomach. His shoulders were broad, his waist lean, his muscles taut but not bulky. I had never seen this much of him before. He always wore a full bathrobe wrapped up like a man protecting his chastity. He looked at me directly.
Do you want to do this? I was too startled to answer. Then I remembered our first night when I had spoken those exact same words to him through a drunken haze. There's no protection here. He chuckled softly. I almost forgot. He pulled on sleepwear right in front of me and climbed into bed. I lay beside him, rigid and awake, breathing in the clean scent of his soap. I decided in that moment that regardless of whether we eventually divorced, I was going to sleep with him properly at least once before it ended. Aldric left for a business trip the next morning and was gone for a full week. When he returned, he carried 2 large shopping bags into the kitchen. Things for you and Elias. Go sort through them. Baby clothes, soft toys, a mobile for the crib, a limited edition handbag, luxury skincare, supplements, and 2 black boxes, extra large. My face ignited like dry kindling. I could hear the shower running in the bathroom, and my thoughts spiraled completely beyond my control. Aldric emerged in a dark robe, his hair still damp. His calm gaze swept over the bags, and he knew immediately that I had already organized everything. Did you see them? I nodded, trying to appear composed. His lips curved with something close to dark amusement. I placed them there intentionally for you to find. He stepped forward and tilted my chin upward, his thumb brushing lightly across my bottom lip, so you could mentally prepare yourself. Then he lowered his head and kissed me. This was not the careful, restrained kiss of a husband fulfilling an obligation. This was fierce, possessive, consuming. He pressed me backward onto the mattress, and when I gasped for air, he deepened the kiss further. Turn off the light. He reached over without breaking contact, and the room went dark. Then Elias started crying. Aldric froze above me. I pushed gently at his shoulders. Elias is crying. He had clearly heard it too, but he refused to move. Someone is attending to him. The primary nanny is off tonight, and I don't trust the backup alone. He sat up against the headboard, his expression visibly displeased. I pulled on my discarded nightgown and hurried to the nursery. Elias was drenched in sweat from crying. No fever, no obvious discomfort. He simply refused to settle. Aldric appeared in the doorway wearing casual clothes. Give him to me. He took the baby and the screaming stopped almost immediately. Elias hiccuped and stared up at his father with wet, round eyes. Cry again and I'll set you outside. His voice was low and perfectly flat. He was not joking, even slightly. Elias refused the crib that night. Aldric sat on the living room sofa, holding him until the small hours. The following evening, Elias slept peacefully. I got my period. Aldric inhaled slowly. A faint trace of genuine despair crossed his features. He said nothing, just got up and walked into the bathroom. I stared at the blood stain on the sheets, feeling both mortified and frustrated. When he came out, I was already stripping the bedding. You take care of yourself. I'll manage this. Water droplets clung to his neck and jaw. He had only splashed his face before returning. I nodded, embarrassed, and retreated to the bathroom. My best friend Nora organized a girls' night. The conversation drifted into intimate territory. Bathtubs, floor-to-ceiling windows, home offices. I listened with my face progressively reddening. When they turned to me, I panicked. I didn't want to admit the truth about my marriage. 7 times. The table went silent. You're talking about Aldric Voss? I nodded with manufactured calm. He is my husband, after all. Nora grabbed her phone and called her husband immediately. Dominic, you're useless. Aldric does it 7 times a night.
I lunged for the phone, but Nora dodged, laughing. On the other end, a bewildered male voice. Who does it 7 times? Aldric. A pause. Then Dominic said quietly, You just wait until tonight. At 11, Dominic arrived to collect Nora, and Aldric was standing right beside him. I went completely rigid on the spot. He drove us home through the dark city, his expression entirely unreadable. I finally gathered the courage to speak. Were you with Dominic tonight? No. Ran into him outside. Relief washed through me. When we entered the house, I immediately headed toward the nursery. Elias wasn't there. My parents wanted him, Aldric explained from behind me. I showered, and when I came out, Aldric was already waiting with a teapot and 2 cups. That's a lot of water. Want some? I nodded.
He poured me a cup. I drank half. He took the cup back and finished the rest without hesitation. Then he kissed me. No crying baby, no unexpected interruption. This time, there was nothing between us. When it ended, my mind was fireworks and my legs had entirely stopped functioning. He reached for a second. I watched him open the packet. Then a third. I grabbed his wrist. No more. That's only twice. His voice was maddeningly even. You're still 5 short. My face combusted. He had heard every word. I was just bragging. His dark eyes held mine. But I would like to try and see if I can meet your expectations. No, you already met them, I exclaimed. Drink some water. He poured for me obediently. You've lost a significant amount of fluid. When did you see the forum post? 3 months ago. His voice was quiet. Many comments were urging you to divorce me. I stared at him. That is why you were coming home so late. You were avoiding me. He didn't deny it. Aldric, I never listened to those people. How did you even know it was me? The IP address matched. He said it like it was obvious. There aren't that many coincidences. He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. Stop scolding me. I'm already preparing to divorce. My own words glowing on a screen. I studied his guarded expression. You were not only upset about the post, are you? You were jealous that afternoon at the gallery when you saw me with Julian. Silence. Aldric, Julian is nothing more than a friend. He pressed his lips together. Wasn't he your first love? What? Who told you such nonsense? If he had been my first love, we would have been together years ago, during the 6 years we studied at the same university.
Would you have even had a chance? I explained firmly. I didn't date anyone while I was abroad. I was drowning in coursework and research. Where would I have found time for romance? His guarded expression shifted into something more complicated. You didn't go abroad because of him? Of course not. Ending up in the same university was pure coincidence. You truly never liked him? Never. I drew the word out deliberately, emphasizing it. Aldric's lips curved almost imperceptibly. He lifted me and carried me into the shower. Later, lying in the dark, I asked, why did you even believe Julian and I had a relationship? I heard it in high school. I pushed up onto my elbow. You knew me in high school? He didn't elaborate. He just looked at me. There's still another box in the drawer. My younger brother Callum arrived during winter break. He was 16, buried alive in practice workbooks. When Aldric entered the house, Callum looked up respectfully. Brother-in-law. Aldric acknowledged him with a nod. Callum shot me a look of complaint about Aldric's cold demeanor. I almost laughed. He struggled with a complex math problem. I helped him with 2. The third one stumped me. Callum eyed me skeptically. Sis, did you actually complete your degree? I rolled my eyes. You expect me to remember every answer for a lifetime? Aldric emerged from the bedroom in comfortable house clothes. Which problem? Callum held up the workbook. Aldric explained the solution with smooth, effortless logic, his voice low and magnetic. Wow, brother-in-law, that is incredible. I had taught him 2 problems as well. He hadn't praised me a single time. Callum was naturally gifted with Elias. Whenever the baby cried, Callum reached him first. A few minutes of attention, and Elias would settle. One afternoon, Callum came thudding down the staircase with a conspiratorial expression. Sis, I discovered something in my brother-in-law's study. He held out my old ID photograph from secondary school.
I had lost that card years ago and searched the entire campus.
When I found it, the photo had been torn off. This photo was immaculate, not a single crease or fold. What were you doing in his study? Checking my exam scores online? He gave me permission. What did you score? 687. I beamed. I'm taking you out to dinner. I studied the small photograph resting in my palm. Something feather-light brushed across my heart. I took Callum out. Aldric called and found us mid-meal. You left me at home. Who's watching Elias? He glanced at Callum. Your brother. When we reached the car, the driver and nanny were inside with Elias. Aldric told Callum to climb in. Sis, brother-in-law, are you not coming? Your sister and I are staying out tonight. Look after your nephew. The car pulled away before Callum could finish objecting. Aldric took the keys from my hand. Where are we going? The airport. What? He laced his fingers through mine. How about a few days abroad? You are genuinely comfortable leaving Elias with my teenage brother? He is more skilled at combing him than I am. At the airport, someone delivered our luggage. He had orchestrated everything in advance. One hand on the suitcase, one arm firmly around my waist, he guided me toward the plane. I remembered how we used to hover politely without making actual contact. I pushed his hand away pointedly. Weren't you being very gentlemanly before? He leaned in and kissed me in full view of everyone around us. Not anymore. On the plane, I slept. When I woke, I was wearing silk pajamas. My clothes from the day before were gone. I found Aldric on the hotel sofa making calls. Where are my clothes? I washed them. There was a photo. He reached into his pocket and withdrew the picture. This one? Seeing it again, something lost and found sent my emotions spiraling. Explain. His expression softened into something I had never seen before. I've been planning this a very long time, Lucy. Let's have a proper wedding. In his final year of secondary school, Aldric Voss saw a girl in the corridor. She was pale and bright-eyed with dimples that appeared when she laughed. He had never experienced that kind of flutter before. He never experienced it for anyone else afterward. After that day, he noticed her without meaning to. She was always top of her class, always paired with a particular boy in competitions and school events. Wherever her name appeared, his followed. One rainy afternoon, he saw her searching the school field for her lost identification card. He stood on the upper corridor and watched. The card was in his palm. He didn't return it. With a strange, cold calm, he tore the photograph off the card and tucked it into his pocket. Then he handed the empty card to a classmate. Deliver this to her. The following year, she graduated and left for university overseas. He heard that boy enrolled at the same institution. At a wedding, years later, he saw her again. He was distant and indifferent to every observer, but his gaze betrayed him, drifting toward her throughout the evening. She drank too much. He followed her to her suite. When the staff brought hangover tea, he intercepted it and went inside himself. He was still determining how to greet her when she spoke first. Do you want to? When she stumbled across the room and wrapped her arms around him, drunk and hazy, every restraint he had maintained for years simply dissolved. Even believing she might already belong to someone else, he still wanted to try. I'll take responsibility. She refused. 2 months later, she appeared in his office with a pregnancy report. Let's get married. She married him for her family's business and for the child. He understood that completely. So he kept his distance. She was pregnant and he never permitted himself to think beyond that. Until he discovered her forum post. Do you like your husband? She did not answer. The majority of commenters urged her to divorce. The baby had been born. Her company was recovering. He had nothing left to offer her. He panicked. He began staying out late because he was terrified of hearing her say those words. On his grandfather's birthday, he saw her apply online. She had finally said it. Those commenters were pushing her, so he instructed his assistant to have the post removed. His expression softened into something I had never seen before. I've been planning this a very long time, Lucy. Let's have a proper wedding. In his final year of secondary school, Aldric Voss saw a girl in the corridor. She was pale and bright-eyed with dimples that appeared when she laughed. He had never experienced that kind of flutter before. He never experienced it for anyone else afterward. After that day, he noticed her without meaning to. She was always top of her class, always paired with a particular boy in competitions and school events. Wherever her name appeared, his followed. One rainy afternoon, he saw her searching the school field for her lost identification card. He stood on the upper corridor and watched. The card was in his palm. He didn't return it. With a strange cold calm, he tore the photograph off the card and tucked it into his pocket. Then he handed the empty card to a classmate. "Deliver this to her." The following year, she graduated and left for university overseas. He heard that boy enrolled at the same institution. At a wedding years later, he saw her again. He was distant and indifferent to every observer, but his gaze betrayed him, drifting toward her throughout the evening. She drank too much. He followed her to her suite. When the staff brought hangover tea, he intercepted it and went inside himself. He was still determining how to greet her when she spoke first. "Do you want to?" When she stumbled across the room and wrapped her arms around him, drunk and hazy, every restraint he had maintained for years simply dissolved. Even believing she might already belong to someone else, he still wanted to try. "I'll take responsibility." She refused. 2 months later, she appeared in his office with a pregnancy report. "Let's get married." She married him for her family's business and for the child. He understood that completely.
So he kept his distance. She was pregnant, and he never permitted himself to think beyond that. Until he discovered her forum post. "Do you like your husband?" She did not answer. The majority of commenters urged her to divorce. The baby had been born. Her company was recovering. He had nothing left to offer her. He panicked. He began staying out late because he was terrified of hearing her say those words. On his grandfather's birthday, he saw her reply online. She had finally said it. Those commenters were pushing her. So he instructed his assistant to have the post removed.
If it had been taken down sooner, his wife would not have seen photographs of other men's bodies. He waited until she had fully healed. Then he asked her again, "Do you want to?" As long as she didn't say divorce, he would continue pretending he knew nothing. Then he walked into her newly opened gallery and found her standing with the boy from secondary school. Jealousy and fear tangled together in his chest. He had always believed she once loved him. She hadn't. What she felt for Aldric had also started with a single glance across a crowded room. Sometimes love doesn't begin with certainty. It begins with hesitation and misunderstanding and too much silence. But if two people keep choosing each other, even the quietest love can endure.